Thank you, Zinzi, for the story, and our very own Murage for the camera. A very good and important way to bring the Christmas cheer. Story by 16-year-old David Chege, who is in the studio accompanied by his dad, David Chege. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
David, that's a noble idea. It's a noble thing you're doing, to help the Nairobi hospice. Who brought that idea? Who planted that idea in your head?
After I'd done the initial project with my school, raising 300,000.
Just tell us why it started with the school, the project with the school.
Initially, it started with my teacher, Mrs. Ann, who took our global citizenship class on a trip to the Nairobi hospice and showed us how they take care of the cancer patients who are suffering, how they provide support, family care, and all that stuff. And after we had completed, we decided to, as a class, to raise money so that they can widen their efforts as a hospice, and also buy a vehicle which will allow them to go to people in the slums who are in late stages of cancer and are in too much pain to come to their center. So after we had done that, finished in around August, I personally decided that I really wanted to do something more, as my uncle had cancer and I saw the pain he went through. So I decided that I was going to do something about it, and I approached my dad with the idea that I want to do more. And he told me that, yeah, I should. And we brainstormed over it, and we got the idea of me cycling 160 kilometers.
Tell us about the cycling. How was it?
It was challenging. Before the week that I went the 160 kilometers, the most I'd done was around 50. So my body muscles weren't used to going such long distances over a long day, because it took me 13 and a half hours together. So my body wasn't used to it. In the first 60 kilometers, that's when I really felt a lot of it, as we were ascending up to Limuru, and a lot of it was the climb. So I really felt the burn in my legs. But then after that, it got easier for me, as I kept on thinking of the people I was helping through the effort I was doing.
Driving to Nakuru, there are some tough climbs. How long did you take to do the whole journey?
The whole journey took 13 and a half hours, starting from 7 a.m. and we reached there at 8:30 in the night.
Yes, let's bring your dad into the conversation. Mr. Kaguna, thank you so much. You were part of that journey, just trying to be there for your son. Just tell us how it was for you.
The longest I've ever driven to Nakuru, 13 and a half hours. I usually would take a lot shorter than that. So it was interesting. I didn't have to worry about speed guns, But I think for me, the greater joy was just watching my son persevere through. There are several hills along that route. And initially I had assured him that once he's through the Limuru hill, then most of the way should be easier. But I realized along the way that actually there were more hills that looked a bit tough. But overall, I remember at some point stopping and asking him, "Are you sure you want to finish this?" And he told me, "Dad, I'm stopping in Nakuru." And I thought, okay, whatever time we get there, even if we get there at midnight, that's okay, but I'm going to support him all the way. So I'm so glad that he was able to finish.
How many stopovers, if you can remember, did you do from Nairobi to Nakuru?
We did, the longer ones were, I think, 3. We did stop once he finished the hill at Limuru for some time for him to catch a bit of breath. This we took some time. The next stop was, we stopped briefly at the viewpoint, and then a bit longer at, I think there's a pizza inn along the way there, right once you peak really the total climb, before we start now the downhill towards Naivasha. And then the next one was at Delamere, just after Naivasha, to just take a short break. And then beyond that, we just went all the way.
Yeah, David, there's a lot of traffic on that road. It's a very busy highway. Were you worried about your safety?
Yeah, a bit. I was trying to go as fast as possible. My trainer had told me that if you want to go on the highway, the safest bet is just to go as fast as possible. And on that long journey, I was scared because I wasn't sure I could keep up the speed. But then the road traffic and people who are driving were really considerate of me, which I was surprised of, and they allowed me to just take my time, get off the road when needed, and all that stuff.
Yes. Tell us how much you want to raise and how much maybe you've raised so far.
Right now we are under 200,000 Kenyan shillings, but then we are hoping to reach 1 million Kenyan shillings because the cost of the vehicle is really high. However, the hospice has been able to raise over half of the sum. So by the end of this week, we hope to have raised 1 million with the closing of the project itself.
Do you have a sum maybe you've said maybe per kilometer you want to raise?
Yeah.
Kenyans can give you this.
I would like to be very kind of people to give 10 to 50 bob for every kilometer I did, which is a sum ranging from 160 to 5,000 Kenyan shillings. If Kenyans really take charge of the event and they're able to come together and give individually these small sums, by the end of the day we'll have raised enough to help the people who are suffering from cancer.
Yeah, maybe for somebody who missed the whole objective of your journey, expedition and everything, maybe you can just explain to the Kenyans what you are aiming to achieve or to purchase for the Nairobi Hospice.
The Nairobi Hospice has a center where the cancer patients normally go and are attended to, being offered palliative care, counseling, and a social support system. So even though that they're suffering and maybe they've been left alone to deal with this, they still have some sort of family to take care of them. However, there are people who are in late stages of cancer, feeling severe pain and or unable to reach the hospice due to a lack of funds. So the director decided to purchase a vehicle which will allow them not only to service people who come to them, but to go out to the people who need their help. So that's what we are trying to achieve. We need a 4x4 vehicle because a lot of these people are in the slum areas such as Kibera, with thousands of people who can't be able to reach the hospice itself.
Okay. Mr. Chege,
Yes, sir.
this like David told me earlier, it's a personal story that motivated him to have that idea in his head. Maybe you can tell us more about his uncle.
His uncle started off with a diagnosis of prostate cancer, and most doctors actually thought that it would be easy to deal with because they diagnosed it early, but it happened to be pretty aggressive, and unfortunately then it spread throughout the body, and by 2013 then he passed on. And I guess that was David's first encounter with a real cancer patient, and hence the pain and the passion that he has had for this particular project.
David, how much more are you willing to cycle another to do another tour if maybe this is not enough to raise that money?
Yeah, I talked with the hospice and decided we wanted this to be an annual event where we could get not only me but young people with the different talents to use their talents to reach great feats, and with those feats raise awareness and also raise money for the hospice to be able to provide to the cancer patients in need.
And to Kenyans maybe who are wishing to contribute to that, where can they send the money to their contributions?
They should send the money to 982650, which is an M-Pesa account cycling. The money will go directly to the hospice, and with that they'll be able to purchase the vehicle.
All right, we'll be sure to keep sending the details of the account number, M-Pesa, so that Kenyans can keep sending their contributions. And this, you're just 16 years old. Many 16-year-olds right now are just enjoying their holidays, traveling all over the country. How do you feel? I mean, this is a really noble idea.
I don't think it's something that makes me really special, because again, with the efforts, I also had help from my friend Kinga, my schoolmate, who helped me raise the money, and around 10 people who are around my age, teenagers, who also went telling all the people they know about what we are doing, trying to get them to raise money and to send money to us. So seeing that, being able to be a part of that, really encouraged me to understand that being young does not incapacitate you to do great things to help people out in whatever way that is needed.
What was the most challenging part of the physical journey, the cycling to Nakuru?
The last 30 kilometers were really a challenge for me, as at that point my legs had burnt out, and looking forward it was just highway and highway and highway remaining. There was no end in sight at the time. But then, even though at that point it was really painful, having the pictures of the cancer patients in mind, of my uncle in mind, really motivated me to know that I have no option but to finish. People are relying on me. They need my help, so I must finish.
Finally, Mr. Chege, maybe your son here is very modest about the idea. What do you feel as a father when you see your son having such a good idea?
I can't be more proud as a father, really. What would a father long for, rather than a son that is has a global view? In today's world, we are brought up thinking a lot about ourselves, and not really thinking about. In fact, in Nairobi, if I may ask you, Ben, do you know your neighbors? And perhaps you'll tell me, I know, just I've seen the face, kind of thing.
Sure.
But to see a young man like him beginning to think, wow, I can actually make a difference in this world, and for people he's never seen. Really, I think for me, it just makes me very, very proud of him. Yeah.
David, what do you say maybe to other young teenage Kenyans watching?
I encourage them to help out in the community, to not be self-centered and only think about themselves, thinking about their fun and issues that only deal with themselves, but to also get a general view of our country, what's happening in Kenya, the issues that deal with it and that stuff, and to use their talents, their abilities to be able to help people out in such situations, to be able to create awareness for cancer or help people with HIV or helping out their neighbor with their chores and anything of that sort.
True. And to Kenyans, maybe want to, just if you can give them the details again, want to contribute to that drive.
Please, I urge all Kenyans to contribute to M-Pesa Baybill 982650 account cycling. The money will be really, really, really helpful to those people, and to just help bring a better Kenya to us, a Kenya where we have such a great community that everyone will help each other out when we are in need, when we are feeling troubled. That's the aim of this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Mr. Chege, for
Thank you. Thank you
coming
very
to us.
much for having us.
That is 16-year-old David Chege, accompanied by his father, Kakunda Chege. Very noble idea. Did cycle from all the way from the capital, Nairobi, to Nakuru to raise funds for the Nairobi hospice, to buy a vehicle to be able to help out at their cancer center. Many thanks for staying with us. We are still spreading that Christmas cheer. 3 days to the end of the year.